guys, it's Nicole. It is a really rainy day today, and I thought, why not make a video on my Oncidium and phal orchids? So I'm going to show you what I've got in my collection, and I've got a bunch in bloom right now. And this one I've shown you guys before is my Miltoniopsis Lila Farnihu, and it finally opened up. The flowers are almost all completely open. And it's so pretty. I really like this one. They look like little pansies. I'll say that the scent, I don't like it that much. It smells like paint. So it does have a little bit of a weird, like, I don't know, like a Crayola crayon or like a paint smell. I don't love it, but it looks absolutely gorgeous. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flowers in bloom, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm gonna wait until it cools down to repot this orchid, since it's one of my newer ones. As you can see, it's coming out of the pot a little bit, but since this is a cool grower, I want to make sure that I'm giving it the love it deserves. I'm a little worried about this leaf over here. I think it's not liking the warm temperatures too much, but I'm not going to stress it. I'm just going to do my best with this one, and we'll see where it goes. So that is my one and only Miltoniopsis, my one and only cool grower right now. The next one here, which I've shown you guys, is my Wilsonara Pinky Eye Candy, and it is in spike and branching out really nicely. And it looks like I'll be able to see some blooms probably in about a month. So I've got 2 spikes. One of them is branching out and the other one is just starting. I will put a picture in the video so you guys can see it, but I'm looking forward to this one. And this is one of my newer orchids as well, which you guys have seen. This is my Oncidium Hilo Firecracker New Year. All 3 spikes have opened. I've also got that extra 4th spike down here, which is coming soon, but this is in its full glory. Essentially, one of the spikes is basically dying off a little bit. Some of the flowers are coming off, but the others are completely open, and this is beautiful and in desperate need of a repot. So you guys will watch that video when this is ready to go in a couple of weeks, but I really love this one. It's really big and healthy. In the back, which you guys have seen already, is my Oncidium Heaven Sent Sweet Baby with the thin, tall spikes. This one's going to take a really long time to actually mature, but it's supposed to smell really good, and it's supposed to be a really fragrant orchid, so I look forward to it. It's got, for an orchid with 4 pseudobulbs, 4 pseudobulbs, it's got really tall spikes. So I always got to remember that because I have so many Oncidiums nowadays, so I'm always thinking about where I can put them. But I'm looking forward to this one. And you guys have seen this one before. It is my BST Tarantula Sweet Orange. One of the flowers started to open up. Looking forward to seeing the rest, but this is a really cool one. And these are mostly my newer ones, but let me show you the rest of my other Oncidiums. So these are the rest of the Oncidiums and phals in my collection. These are not in bloom, but I've got some with spikes and some with new growths. So this one I got a couple of months ago. It's the Odontocidium DM Parquet Uptown Girl. And this one, it's been growing slowly. It's like 1 bulb. I've never had an Odontocidium type orchid. I don't know if it's really happy or not because it has these spots on it. I know it has Odontoglossum in its lineage, so I don't know if it's not liking the hot weather, but thankfully it's cooling down, and hopefully we can get some more growth going on. It's been getting taller, but like, I don't know if it's supposed to be a bulb or what, but this is my first one, but we'll see how it goes. This one is a Shari baby. I got this one from my mother, and initially when I got it, it had a leaf that was dying off, so I cut it and I repotted it into sphagnum moss, and it's been going pretty crazy. So it has a new growth here, New growth here. You could tell it needed some water because the leaves were a little crinkly, but I've been giving it, now it's growing pretty straight. It's been getting consistent water almost daily. Another growth here. And then there was another growth somewhere else, but is it back here? Well, at least 3 growths. It looks like it was having a rough time, but it's doing way better. And in the coming months, this should have some nice blooms. It'll just take some time for it to grow. I think it's gonna grow a little crazy because you can see some of the roots are above the medium, but we'll see how it does. The next one is another Shari Baby. This one's a Shari Baby Red Fantasy. I love Shari Babies. They smell so good. They smell like chocolate. And I love them. This one I've had for a few months as well. This one had when I first got it, it had like a small bulb. It's been growing nicely, so hopefully I'll get a spike out of it this fall. And the Shari Baby spike, similar to the Oncidium Heaven Sent Sweet Baby, take forever, so I need a lot of patience for it. So we've got these 3 Oncidiums. I actually bought these together when I repotted them in clay, and you guys know how I feel about clay. So this one is my Miltonia Kismet Kind Kai. This one is really nice. I'll put a picture of it in the description. But what I noticed yesterday when I was watering is that I've got a flower spike forming. So I thought that I would have to wait until this new growth matured. But it looks like I'll be getting a spike from here. So I'm really excited about it. The flower looks really pretty. And so far it looks like it's liking the environment and liking the lights. So excited about that one. Making some room on the table so I can walk you through the rest. This is my Miltausia Dark Star Orchid Works. So this is the Darth Vader orchid. So it's not in bloom right now. I just repotted it maybe about a month ago. So it's got 2 growths. So hopefully I will be able to get a flower spike from either. As you can see, there's one right here in the front that's smaller, developing its bulb, and one in the back. This one I actually potted mostly in bark. I normally do sphagnum moss for my Oncidium types, but I've read that this type likes it a little bit more dry, so it's an anomaly, but I'm keeping an eye on it because the leaves are a little floppy, even though I water it pretty consistently. So I will keep an eye on this and adjust as needed. But here's the other growth. So 2 new growths so far. I mean, the leaves are a little floppy, but I'm not seeing like these curly things growing out. This came this way, but that's usually an indication it's not getting enough water, but I'll keep you guys posted. And this is my Miltausia Dark Star Orchid Works. Moving on to some of the older orchids in my collection. This is my very first Oncidium, and as you could tell, it looks like a hot mess. So when I first got this orchid, I did not know how to take care of orchids, and I put it in, I almost killed my phal actually, because I overwatered it, and then I went to the extreme and thought, well, you shouldn't water your orchids so much. So when I got this Oncidium, I potted it in a mesh pot with bark, and I had like 1 bulb to begin with, and then it started growing new ones, but I didn't know that you were supposed to water Oncidiums. So this is my newbie plant. I abused this poor plant. This I got 5 years ago. As you can tell, it's not dead. It's still going. I didn't even fertilize it in the beginning, but I've been taking much better care of it in the last 2 years, and it's starting to grow new growth. So like this one's looking much better. It's got another one in the back here. It's not growing crinkly anymore, which is good, which means that I'm taking better care of it. But I need to figure out what I'm going to do because I keep growing. So there's another new growth right here. So this plant is, not the best shape. It's like coming out better. Like you could see from this growth, it looks much healthier than the others. But I gotta figure out, I gotta divide this plant or do something with it. I've just, this is my first Oncidium 5 years ago. It's a miracle. It hasn't died. It's actually bloomed for me a few times, and I'll put a picture of the bloom. This one is a Shari baby, actually. It's my first Shari baby. I think I've got like 4 at this point. You guys have seen all of the Shari babies at this point. But it's bloomed. I haven't killed it. This is why basically orchids are not that hard. I did everything to kill it, and it's still alive. So we'll see what I do next year when I repot it. I'm going to divide it and see what I do, but the new growths are coming out much healthier. So I'm happy about that, and I'm a little sad that I abused it, but it's a learning process. This is a true sign that you've underwatered when the leaves come out crinkly, but what did I know? Another orchid that I've got, this is my second Oncidium. I got it actually with that Oncidium. This is my second orchid ever, and this is my third. This one came just with this, and it grew a bulb every single year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've had this for 6 years. The new growth is fine. This one I've had in larger pots, so it did a little bit better. This is a no ID yellow Oncidium. I don't know what it is, but I'll put a picture of the blooms that I've had from it. Some of these leaves are really old. It's natural for them to die off. I didn't want to cut them when I repotted, but it's doing all right. I'm not sure why it's getting these spots. I think it's possibly due to when I get water in it. I spray them down a lot, but I don't know the, it's a no ID Oncidium, so I don't know what type exactly it is, but maybe when I repot it next year, it'll do better. But it's growing a ton of roots. I've got it in a much larger pot because it's got much more roots, but I've got a lot of, the top has sphagnum moss, but there's a lot of bark underneath, so it's not consistently soggy. But yeah, this, I will put a picture of all of the flowers that I've received from it. So far this one's done better than that one because this one was always in a bigger pot. So this is why pot size matters. Bigger pots have more moisture. In this case, it helped because this is an Oncidium that likes moisture. Okay, now this, let's start with that one. So this is my very first Phalaenopsis. I got it 6 years ago at a Home Depot, and it's a very reliable bloomer. It's bloomed for me every single year since I've had it, and since it was my very first orchid, I abused the crap out of this orchid. So I watered it once a week in this clay pot, and as you know, clay pots always wick all of the moisture, so it was always bone dry, but I didn't even fertilize it for the first few years I had it, and it still bloomed, so it shows you how well orchids can adapt to your care. My cat has knocked this plant down a bunch of times, unfortunately. So that's why these leaves are a little broken, but it should be okay. Blooms very reliably. The leaves are always quite big, so it's happy. Now I'm taking good care of it. I fertilize it regularly. I water it as it gets dry, but these phals are very easy to care for. And then my only other phal, I only have 2 Phalaenopsis, is this one. So I got this one like 5 years ago. It was a gift from my mother. This one has pink flowers. It's a no ID, just like that one, which is also a no ID. And this one has very nice pink flowers. When I first got it, it had spiders all over it, which was horrible. So the whole root ball was covered in a web. I almost threw it out. I was so disgusted, but that's when I found out about the hydrogen peroxide, and they never came back. But this is a beautiful orchid. It blooms all the time. I also did not fertilize it in the beginning. I didn't water it properly. But let me tell you a little bit more about the difference between these two. So I keep talking about clay pots and stuff and plastic pots. This one, I only have to water once a week. This one, I have to water like every 2-3 days. So this one is breathing and drying out quickly, and this one maintains all of the moisture. You can see the condensation in there a little bit. But this one is pretty happy. I let it air out outside of the container for a couple of hours when I can. But these are my oldest orchids outside of the Miltoniopsis dark star. And that's where it all began. Well, thank you guys for watching and have a good day.